Siobhan, stop packing. This house is being sold. Maud's voice came from the living room. My textbook slipped from my hand with a sharp thud, and my pen rolled under the bed, its ink spreading a small black stain across the light-colored carpet. I rushed into the living room to find her wiping coffee stains off the coffee table with a rag, her movements slow as if she were stalling. Sunlight streamed through the slats of the blinds, dancing on the gray streaks in her hair, yet there was no warmth in her face. In the middle of the table lay several papers, the top one emblazoned with a real estate agent's logo, blindingly bright and harsh. What did you say? My voice trembled, my fingertips white with tension. This is our home. How dare you sell it? Maud finally looked up, her eyes filled with the exhaustion I knew so well, mixed with an unyielding resolve. Because Percy is your brother, and he can't afford to get hurt. Percy again. That name was like a thorn stuck in my heart for over a decade, impossible to pull out, painful even to touch. I took a deep breath, trying to suppress the anger boiling inside me. What did he do this time? Last time he stole your wallet to gamble, and you paid off his $3,000 debt. Last month he scratched the neighbor's car, and you scraped up the money to cover it. Maud, how long are you going to coddle him? He's just immature. She suddenly raised her voice, slamming the rag down on the table. Water splashed onto the papers. This is different. He owes Basil £50,000. Do you know who Basil is? If he comes looking for us, Percy is done for. I froze. £50,000 was an astronomical sum for a single-parent family like ours. But that was no excuse to sell the house, the only keepsake Dad had left us, and my last hope for the future. We can't sell the house. We can get second jobs, cut back on expenses, or if worse comes to worst. If worse comes to worst what? Maud cut me off, her eyes sneering. What good is your part-time salary? It's not even enough to pay the interest on Percy's debt. I know this is unfair to you, Siobhan, but he's your only brother, the root of our family. I can't watch him destroy himself. What about me? I finally snapped, tears pouring down my face uncontrollably. This is my home too. I'm going to take my A-levels next year, and I worked so hard to get that scholarship to Westbrook High. If you sell the house, where will we live? How will I go to school? Maud looked away, avoiding my gaze. Her voice softened, but the words cut deeper than ever. School can wait, and college is something you can go to anytime. If all else fails, I've found someone for you to marry, Rory's son. Their family is willing to give a £30,000 dowry, which will help pay off part of Percy's debt. What are you saying? I felt as if I'd been struck by lightning, a cold chill spreading through my entire body. You want me to drop out of school and get married? Just to pay off Percy's debts? Maud, have you lost your mind? I knew the Rorys, they owned the corner shop in town. Their son was 5 years older than me, and he'd been arrested last year for harassing a female customer. Maud was actually willing to marry me off to a man like that, all for £30,000. I haven't lost my mind. She turned to face me, her eyes red with tears. I have no choice, Siobhan. Basil said if we don't pay him back in 3 days, he'll break Percy's legs. What am I supposed to do? He's my only son. I'm your child too. My voice was hoarse with grief. You only ever think about Percy. Have you ever once thought about me? I get up before dawn to deliver newspapers, and after school I wash dishes at the diner, all just to save up for tuition. I want to go to college. I want to get out of this town. Why won't you let me have even that? She fell silent, just wiping away her tears and repeating the same words over and over. He's your brother. Just help him this once, Siobhan. Just this once. I knew arguing was useless. In her heart, Percy would always come first. I was just a tool to be sacrificed whenever it suited her. That night, I sat in my room, wide awake until dawn. The pen was still under the bed, the ink stain dried into a permanent scar, just like the one she'd left on my heart. Early the next morning, the real estate agent arrived. A middle-aged man in a cheap suit, smooth-talking and smarmy, he wandered around the house muttering about good location and nice layout, his eyes lingering on everything like he was appraising merchandise. Maud followed close behind him, smiling obsequiously, completely oblivious to me standing on the stairs, my gaze cold as ice. "Mom, you're really selling it?" Percy's voice came from his room. He'd finally torn his eyes away from his game. I'd hoped he might look guilty, but his face was nothing but indifference, as if this was all perfectly normal. "What else can we do?" Maud walked over to him, patting his head affectionately. "I can't let Basil break your legs. You have to be more responsible from now on, no more getting into trouble like this." Percy grunted in response, already turning back to his game. The rapid clacking of the keyboard echoed through the house, like a hammer pounding on my nerves. I clenched my fists, spun around, and slammed my bedroom door so hard the walls shook. Over the next few days, Maud started packing up our things, Dad's old photos, my report cards, all of them shoved haphazardly into cartons and left in the corner of the balcony. Watching the things that had accompanied me for over a decade treated so carelessly, I felt as if my heart had been hollowed out. I tried talking to Percy, but every time I opened my mouth, he waved me away impatiently. "Quit messing things up, sis. Mom's already made up her mind. Just marry him and live a good life. I'll pay you back someday, I promise." Pay me back? The thought made me laugh bitterly. All he'd ever done was cause me trouble, never once had he made things easier for me. I even started to wonder if I was really Maud's daughter. How could she treat her two children so differently? A week later, the house was sold for £60,000. The moment she got the money, Maud paid off Basil's £50,000 debt, then put the remaining £10,000 into a savings account, for Percy's future business, she said. She never even asked me where I wanted to live, or what I planned to do next. We moved into a tiny rented apartment in town, just 2 rooms. Maud and I shared one, while Percy took the other. The place reeked of mold, with large water stains on the walls, and at night we could hear mice scurrying across the floorboards. My textbooks were piled under the bed, and every day I had to sit on a small stool just to study. But that was nothing compared to what came next. Maud started forcing me to meet Rory's son. Our first meeting was at the town cafe. He was wearing a garish floral shirt, his hair greasy and unwashed, and the moment we sat down, his eyes fixed on my chest, his mouth spewing vulgar remarks. I fought back the nausea, staying for less than 10 minutes before storming out. When I got home, Maud unleashed a torrent of abuse. "Can't you be more sensible, Siobhan? The Rorys are well off, they're doing you a favor by not looking down on you, and you have the nerve to act like this? I'm not marrying him," I shouted. "He's a pervert. I'd rather die than marry someone like him." "You will marry him, whether you like it or not." Maud was trembling with rage, raising her hand as if to hit me. I flinched away instinctively. She froze, her eyes filled with disappointment and anger. How could I have raised such an ungrateful wretch? What's so wrong with marrying someone to help your brother? If you refuse, I'll disown you. That night, I packed a small bag, determined to leave. But just as I reached the door, Percy blocked my way. "Where do you think you're going?" He frowned, his voice annoyed. "Mom's only doing this for me. Can't you just suck it up for once?" "Suck it up?" I sneered. "Why should I spend the rest of my life paying off your debts? Have you ever once thought about how I feel?" "I don't care. You're not leaving." He grabbed my arm, his grip so tight it hurt. If you go, Mom will be heartbroken, and Basil will come after me again. I wrenched my arm free, stepping back from him. Don't touch me. You're nothing but a selfish coward, Percy, always relying on others to clean up your messes. My words made him snap, his eyes turning fierce. Who do you think you are? None of this would be happening if it weren't for you. I'm warning you, if you step one foot out that door, I'll go to your diner boss and get you fired. I froze. I'd never thought he could be so despicable. My job at the diner was my only source of income. Without it, I wouldn't even be able to buy food. Watching the triumphant smirk on his face, despair crept over me like a shadow. In the days that followed, Maud kept me under house arrest. She took away my phone, cut off my money, and forced me to text and meet with Rory's son every day. I tried to resist, but every act of defiance only led to harsher treatment. Percy, meanwhile, acted like nothing was wrong, spending his days playing video games and hanging out with his friends, occasionally coming home to ask Maud for money. Then one day, Basil showed up at our door unannounced. A tall, imposing man with a scar across his cheek and cold, menacing eyes, someone you'd cross the street to avoid. Maud turned pale with fear the moment she saw him, quickly pulling him onto the sofa and fetching him tea and cigarettes. Mr. Basil, we paid off the debt. Why are you here? Her voice was shaking. Basil let out a cold laugh, his gaze sweeping over me, a greedy glint in his eyes. The money's paid, but I heard your daughter is quite beautiful, and a top student at Westbrook High, no less. Maud's face fell. Yes, she's very bright, but she's still young and naive. Youth is no problem. She'll learn. Basil stood up, walking over to me and reaching out as if to touch my face. I stepped back in terror, hiding behind Maud. Mr. Basil, what exactly do you want? Maud stood in front of me, her voice begging. Nothing much. Basil leaned against the wall, shoving his hands in his pockets. I've been needing an assistant to help with some errands. Your daughter is smart, she'd be perfect for the job. And I'll pay her well enough to support both you and her. I knew perfectly well that his assistant job was nothing but a lie. Everyone in town whispered about Basil's illegal dealings, and his assistants never stayed long, none of them ever came out unscathed. No! I won't do it! I shouted. I want to go to school. I'm not going to be your assistant. Basil's expression darkened as he turned to Maud. You'd better talk some sense into your daughter, Maud. Otherwise, I can't guarantee Percy's safety. After all, he owes me more than just £50,000, there's still the interest to consider. Maud's face turned as white as a sheet. She turned to me, taking my hands in hers, her eyes filled with tears. Siobhan, please agree. Just help me, help your brother. Mr. Basil won't hurt you, he just wants you to be his assistant. His assistant? I pulled my hands away, tears streaming down my face. You know exactly what he does. You're throwing me to the wolves just to save Percy. How could you be so cruel, Maud? I have no choice, she sobbed. I can't lose Percy, Siobhan. He's my reason for living. Just endure it a little while longer. When Percy makes it big someday, he'll repay you, I promise. I looked at her tear-stained face, my heart turning to stone. I knew nothing I said would change her mind. In her eyes, I would always be second to Percy. That day, I finally agreed to go with Basil, not because of her pleas, but because I knew it was the only way to keep Percy safe, and to make Maud stop hounding me. The next day, I packed a small bag and left with Basil. Maud stood at the door watching me go, her eyes filled with what looked like regret. But I knew that regret would fade the moment Percy was out of danger, she'd forget all about me soon enough. Percy didn't even bother to come out and say goodbye. He was still in his room playing video games, as if my leaving meant nothing to him. Basil's mansion was huge and luxurious, but it felt like a prison to me. He gave me a small room, and every day I was forced to sort through his papers, sometimes even accompanying him to his parties. The people at those parties were strange, rude, violent men who looked at me like I was a piece of meat. Once, a fat man got drunk and tried to grab me. I managed to pull away in time, terrified. Basil saw what happened, and with just a cold glare, he made the man back off. He walked over to me, holding out a glass of wine. "You need to learn to protect yourself here, Siobhan. Or you could just let me take care of you." I didn't take the glass, just staring at the floor in silence. I knew he had no good intentions, but I had no way out. I had to stay here, at least for now. Deep down, I still held on to a glimmer of hope, a hope that one day I would escape, go back to school, and fulfill my dream of going to college. Days turned into weeks, and I missed my old life more and more, Dad's house, my friends at school, my co-workers at the diner. But I knew I could never go back. Maud never called, never came to see me, as if I'd never been her daughter at all. Then one day, while sorting through Basil's papers, I stumbled upon a contract. It stated that Maud had collateralized me to Basil for 5 years. If I tried to run away before then, Percy would be responsible for all the remaining debt, and would be forced to work in Basil's factory until it was paid off in full. I stared at the contract, tears streaming down my face silently. So it wasn't just a favor for Percy, she'd sold me. For her precious son, she'd traded away my entire life. I finally understood, in this family, I'd never been loved. I was just a commodity to be bought and sold whenever it suited her. That night, I sat in my room, staring at the moon through the window, and made a decision. I was going to run away. I wasn't going to let myself be destroyed here. I started watching the mansion carefully, memorizing the layout, looking for a way out. Basil was strict, but he went out every night. This was my only chance. A week later, when Basil left again, I packed my small bag and snuck out through the back door I'd spotted earlier. The night air was cold, the wind cutting into my face like a knife, but I felt free, more free than I had in years. I ran as fast as I could, never looking back, terrified that Basil's men would come chasing after me. I ran for what felt like hours, finally stopping as dawn broke. I made my way to the town bus station and bought a ticket to the city. As I boarded the bus, I glanced back at the small town I'd lived in for over a decade. There was no sadness, no regret, only relief. As the bus pulled away, I leaned against the window, watching the scenery fade into the distance. I knew the road ahead would be hard. I had no money, no family, no one to rely on. But I didn't care. I'd rather be alone and free than a prisoner to my mother's cruelty ever again. I pulled a photo out of my pocket, a picture of Dad and me. He was smiling softly, just like he always did. He'd once told me, "Be brave, Siobhan. Chase the life you want." I brushed my finger over his face, whispering to myself, "I will, Dad. I'll be brave. I'll make a good life for myself, I promise." As for Maud and Percy, I knew our relationship had ended the moment she decided to sell the house, force me to drop out of school, and sell me to Basil. Whatever happened to them from now on was their business, not mine. All I knew was that from that day forward, I would live for myself, and no one else would ever make me sacrifice my dreams again.